The fire management industry has relied on the same Class B firefighting foam for nearly 60 years, but new regulations are prompting organizations to transition to new fluorine-free technology. We'll be discussing that and more with Craig McDonnell, the General Manager for the Americas Fire Suppression Business at Perimeter Solutions, on today's episode of Solutions That Save, a fire safety podcast from Perimeter Solutions. Hello, I'm your host, Dan Green. Welcome to Solutions That Save, a fire safety podcast from Perimeter Solutions, helping save lives, property, natural resources, and critical infrastructure. New regulations are hastening the fire safety industry's move from aqueous film-forming foams to fluorine-free foams. In his role at Perimeter Solutions, Craig McDonnell is playing a critical role in that transition. In this episode of Solutions That Save, he talks about the move to fluorine-free foam, what to expect in the coming years, and shares examples of customers who have already switched over to fluorine-free foam. But first, Craig starts us off with a little background on his career. Tell us a little bit about your career and your role at Perimeter Solutions.
I've been working in the chemical industry for more than 36 years now. The last 20 years, I've been in the firefighting foam and hardware business. And I started with Perimeter Solutions in 2014. And so I've been with the company now 7+ years. And I've had roles from R&D to general manufacturing to the general manager for the Americas Fire Suppression Business. That's my current role.
As the general manager, can you tell us what are currently the top concerns for your customers?
Our customers are most concerned with the impact of PFAS legislation right now. That there is so much AFFF and alcohol-resistant AFFF firefighting foams that have been the workhorse of the industry since the 1960s. And this installed base of these PFAS-based foam and foam systems, it's a big decision for the end user to figure out how they're going to transition to the next generation foam. They want to be able to utilize their existing assets. They also have to satisfy third-party approvals. Sometimes it's insurance carriers. Sometimes it's authorities having jurisdiction like fire marshals. And so the big challenge for them is how do we bring the next generation foam into the plant? And how do we make sure that we're meeting all these requirements and not have to change out all the hardware associated with the existing system? What effect that'll have on their operations. They know that eventually they're going to have to change out foam to the next generation fluorine-free foams. And typically they're trying to minimize the loss of business continuity, minimizing their capital investment. It's a little bit easier on a greenfield operation like a brand new manufacturing facility where you have the opportunity to plan and ensure that you have the right water flow, ensure that you have the right hardware installed that works well with the next generation foams, the fluorine-free foams. So that's kind of basically the answer to that. Those are the primary concerns for our customers.
So following up on that last answer you gave, Craig, will you tell us a little bit about where the U.S. fire safety industry is right now with the transition to fluorine-free foams?
That's a good question. And the pressure's been on fluorinated foams now since the early 2000s. And the transition now is, especially over the last 2 years, there's been a significant number of states that have enacted legislation to either ban or restrict the use of fluorinated foams. In addition to that, end users have corporate policies for product stewardship, environmental concerns that they may have. And some of the legislation that's currently in place now that restricts the use of PFAS-based foams still has some exemptions for use, like in petrochemical, oil and gas facilities, in federally mandated uses like the U.S. mil-spec. That at Perimeter Solutions, we continue to develop our new foam and hardware products really to meet the needs of our customers as they make this transition.
And where do you see the industry in the next 3 years? You mentioned various industries have different timelines. Where do you see it when we're looking ahead to 2024?
I think the major change in the market is the United States mil-spec is going to transition to a fluorine-free foam. In fact, A recent CERT alert was published by the FAA that now doesn't mandate the use of fluorinated products anymore, but the performance specifications haven't changed. So a fluorine-free must still meet the same specifications currently. The FAA, NAVC, Department of Defense are all working on a new mil spec that is going to be pointed at the transition to fluorine-free foam, and we do expect the mil spec to change. And by 2024, the U.S. military has said you can no longer purchase and or use fluorinated foams except for shipboard for the Navy. So we know that's the biggest transition in the market is occurring from the U.S. mil spec.
In Perimeter Solutions, do they have a different approach to imagining and developing fluorine-free foam concentrates than other companies?
Well, I think so. I mean, our Perimeter, we're a global supplier. We have to meet the needs of our customers. Specifically, our foams need to be designed to meet globally recognized third-party approvals like Underwriters Laboratory, Factory Mutual, the EN 1568 standard. And there are vertical market-specific foam standards like the U.S. mil-spec, like ICAO, which stands for the International Civil Aviation Organization, and the U.S. Coast Guard. And then there are country-specific requirements. Australia has their own foam standard. India, Russia, China, France has the GESIP, GESIP standard. And so with all of that being said, we are designing foams to meet the needs across the globe, and we try to have our foams with a very broad listing base. And so that meets the needs of customers from all corners of the globe. And, our mission is to help save lives and protect property. And so we continue to develop and deliver quality products and exceptional service. The goal is simply to provide sustainable and effective fire suppression. And right now, we're well on the path of providing a whole portfolio of fluorine-free foams.
I was going to ask you about the newest product that you introduced on the suppression side was VersaGuard AS100, the new line of fluorine-free foams. Will you tell us a little bit about VersaGuard and why the industry should be excited about it?
Yeah, and we are really excited about this, Dan, because VersaGuard, let me give a little history about Class B fuels. They're basically categorized or classified by two fuel types. They're either hydrocarbon-based or polar solvent-based fuels. And simply, hydrocarbon fuels are non-miscible in water. So things like gasoline and diesel, they float on top of water. And so the needs of the firefighting foam are very different than something where the fuel might be a polar solvent. Polar solvents are actually miscible with water. So things like ethanol, methanol, isopropyl alcohol, these types of fuels actually mix with the water. And of course, that has different effect on the firefighting foam blanket because in a polar solvent application, the fuel itself is trying to draw the water out of the foam blanket. So you need a special foam to do that. And our product, the VersaGuard AS100, as its name implies, is really a versatile foam designed to meet the needs for the end users for both hydrocarbon and polar solvent fuel hazards. And you might ask yourself, well, why is that important? Well, if you're a municipal and or industrial firefighter and or brigade that's rolling up on a hazard, there's really no thinking about, does my foam meet the needs of the fuel hazard? Because this foam is versatile and it's good for both hydrocarbon and polar solvent fuels. It has significant listings. It's UL 162, which is Underwriters Laboratory 162 for both fresh and salt water. It has met the European standard EN 1568, parts 3 and 4. It has met International Maritime Organization, Last Fire, ICAO Level B. So you can see with all these listings, this product is really versatile. It's biodegradable, it's non-persistent, good for fresh and salt water, has fast knockdown, good burn back resistance, which is important in any type of fire. When you're manipulating fire hoses or debris is falling during a fire, it's often breaking the integrity of the blanket. And so it's important to have a stable foam blanket that can reseal itself or reheal. The viscosity of this product is very similar to the traditional alcohol-resistant AFFFs, and we don't see any increase in viscosity upon contact with water. We're compatible with a full range of hardware, and it can be used with non-aspirated foam nozzles, which is important because most of the nozzles used by industrial and or municipal fire brigades, the nozzle at the end of the fire hose is usually a non-aspirating nozzle.
And I remember when we were making the announcement around VersaGuard, one of the key points that we included was the fact that it doesn't include siloxanes. Can you talk about why that's important?
Yeah, some siloxanes are actually falling under the same environmental pressure as fluorinated chemistry. There are certain siloxanes that are very persistent in the environment, and they've been flagged already by certain regulatory bodies like the Stockholm Convention for Persistent Organic Pollutants and California's Prop 65. So we continue to develop our chemistries and pursue chemistries that are sustainable solutions.
You and your team do a lot helping customers transition their fire safety systems to new fluorine-free foam technology. Are there any interesting recent projects that you worked on that you want to talk about?
Yeah, there really are. There's two that come to mind right away. One of them is the Lehigh Valley Airport authorities changed out one of their fluorinated foam systems for a 40,000 square foot hangar. That's NFPA 409 classified Group 1 hangar. It's basically the largest hangar size that there is. The system was a deluge sprinkler system that was designed for 0.16 gallons per minute per square foot. And we were able to retrofit that existing system to use our Solberg rehealing foam 3%, fluorine-free 3%. And in fact, that foam has the exact same design application rate as AFFF. And so the customer didn't need to change out the discharge devices. They didn't need to change out the piping infrastructure. It was a matter of bringing in new foam storage, a change in the proportioner, and a change in the foam. And so it was a great project for us, and it's a great application for this rehealing foam. And you can tell this is really where this foam excels at, these hangar protection projects. And a second example is we recently installed a foam system on an 800,000 square foot flammable liquid storage facility. It's a racked storage facility with a lot of flammable and combustible liquids and both hydrocarbon and polar solvents. So they needed a versatile foam. And we outfitted this particular installation with the VersaGuard AS100. And it's been a great success. And these are both examples where fluorine-free foams have now met the needs of end users, authorities having jurisdiction. And it's a good example of a transition to fluorine-free from legacy AFFF products.
Mm-hmm. Right. This has been great, Craig. Is there anything that we haven't covered today that you'd like to share before we let you go?
Well, I think one of the things it's really interesting, in terms of the evolution of foam, if you think about some of the legacy AFFF and alcohol-resistant AFFF foams, when they were first introduced, those products for a hydrocarbon foam concentrate, it was a 6% proportioned product. And for alcohol-resistant type applications, that includes polar solvents and hydrocarbon fuels. Those were 6/9. So that means 6% for the hydrocarbon fuel hazard, 9% for the polar solvent. And those eventually transitioned all the way down to 1%, 1x1s, 1x3s. And so the point I'm trying to make is I think the next generation foams right now may be starting out at higher application rates and higher proportioning percentages, but I'm confident that technology will develop and they will gradually approach the existing proportioning and application rates that we see today.
Do you want to learn more about solutions that save lives, property, natural resources, and critical infrastructure? Visit us at perimetersolutions.com. That's perimeter-solutions.com. See how our products impact critically important issues of life, issues where there often is no room for error and the job doesn't offer second chances. Please join us again for another episode of Solutions That Save, a fire safety podcast from Perimeter Solutions.